the Teaneck Development Forum. My name is Dean Kaczynski. I'm your Township Manager. Thank you for coming tonight. A few housekeeping reminders. The bathrooms, facilities are in the back of the room in case anyone needs to use that, just in the back where the doors are. Please vibrate or silence your phones during the presentation.
But you and I are going to be in touch today.
And we're going to go through the agenda here this evening. Next slide. So I just want to introduce some of the people in attendance this evening that are going to help me with this presentation and answer any questions you may have. So as I announce your name, just please turn around and introduce yourself to the audience. We have Director McGinley, Alan McGinley from the Teaneck Public Library. Lieutenant Marty Roloff from the Fire Department. Chief George Zaretsky from the Fire Department. Mark Bacchino, Construction Official. Frank Piazza, our Co-Administrator. We'll go to the left here. Larry Robinson, our OEM Coordinator. James Ty, our Tax Assessor. Sean Powers, Assistant Superintendent of Recreation. Mr. Isa Abbasi, our Township Clerk. Ms. Farah Galani, the Township Engineer. We have Trevon Romeo. He's in charge of the sewer systems in Teaneck and soon to be Assistant Superintendent of Public Works. We have Kevin Arrohill, Director of Public Works. Glenn O'Reilly, Chief of Police. We have Richard Price, the Township Planner. Ken Catter, our Health Officer. Adam Miska, our Assistant Zoning Official. Mr. Reginald Jenkins from the Township Attorney's Office. Dan Melfi, our Zoning Officer. And we have Councilwoman Javon Romney Rice here. We have Councilman Dr. Henry Pruitt here. And we had Deputy Mayor Mark Schwartz in the back. Thank you for attending. So I'm going to go through my PowerPoint presentation. I apologize if my back is to you. I'm just going to go through the slides here. And we'll go through the agenda. There'll be a period of questions and answers at the end, but I think you're going to find the information very useful. My business cards will be up front at the end in case you need it. Suez, that everyone's probably going to be interested in. Sadly enough, they are not going to show their face at the meeting tonight. They will not be here. But we'll keep that up front. And wasn't there something else? Oh, we're passing around an attendance sheet. Please place your name and email address in case you need to reach me or I need to reach you. I have that information on the page. So we'll get started here. 1500 Teaneck Road is a residential unit. The zoning application was approved in November 2017 for 228 units. The demolition was completed in 2018. Permit was issued August 1st, 2018. There's a total of 224 units, 4 studio units, 119 one-bedroom units, 82 two-bedroom units, 23 affordable housing, which consists of 4 one-bedroom units, 14 two-bedroom units, 5 three-bedroom units, and a total of 435 parking spaces. This is the property formerly known as Bell Telephone and the old Verizon building. Estimated taxes are equivalent to $1.16 million per year upon completion. Okay. So these are a couple pictures of the development in progress at 1500 Teaneck Road. And I failed to mention, I think you're in the back room, Dr. Christopher Irving from the Teaneck Board of Education, Superintendent of Schools is here. 1775 Windsor Road, also known as Avalon Bay. They have a total of 248 units. 121 bedroom, 88 two bedroom, 15 three bedroom. 24 of those are affordable housing, which consists of 5 one bedroom, 15 two bedroom, 5 three bedroom units. The zoning application was approved September 28, 2016 for a 5-story, 248 unit apartment complex. There's an attached 6-story parking deck consisting of 491 spaces, as well as a pool. The work on this project is moving very quickly. There's regular inspections done by the building and engineering departments. They anticipate opening a leasing office sometime in April, and will probably seek a temporary CO and make the first of 3 sections. Taxes $1.3 million upon completion. Here's a picture of the development in progress. 1475 Palisade Avenue, also known as Queen Anne Tower, approved by zoning in November 6, 2014. That's a total of 128 units. There's 23 one-bedroom, 89 two-bedroom, 8 three-bedroom, 10 affordable housing, 8 one-bedroom, 2 two-bedroom units, 2 parking decks. Queen Anne Road and Palisade Avenue totaling 251 parking spaces. The construction permits were issued in February 2016. We just issued a temporary CO for floors 1 through 4 that was approved on February 13. Estimated taxes $680,000 per year. And here's a picture of the development. 836 Cedar Lane. The application was approved on March 8, 2018 for 8 units. 1 is affordable housing. 20 parking spaces. It's located east of the Anderson Street Bridge, south side of Cedar Lane. Right now, there's no construction applications submitted. 764 Newbridge Road. That's the site of the old Teaneck tractor. Demolition was completed in July 2017. The zoning board approved the application for a mixed-use building on May 5th, 2016. 5 retail spaces, 19 total residential units, 2 are affordable housing. There are 18 one-bedroom units, 2 one-bedroom units, and 1 two-bedroom unit with 75 parking spaces. The footing and foundation for that was issued in January of this year, and work has commenced. That's a picture of 764 Bridge. 227 Teaneck Road, the residences at Teaneck. This is at the southeast corner of Teaneck Road and Fortley Road. Those familiar with Dairy Queen, it's right across the street. Approved by the Planning Board April 26, 2015, 24 total units. 5 are affordable housing. There are 3 one-bedroom units, 20 two-bedroom, and 1 three-bedroom unit. 39 parking spaces, 9 tandem parking spaces. Construction permit was issued in March of 2017. Work has commenced. Estimated tax is $110 per year upon completion. That's picture 227. 100 State Street, current application set to be heard before the zoning board this Thursday, February 21st. Proposed 68-unit apartment building, 100 on-site parking spaces, 44 off-site parking spaces. That's a picture of 100 State Street. 1084 Queen Anne Road, residential. The township is currently engaged in discussions to possibly purchase that property. And this is an overhead shot of actually the recreation department, and in the top right where it says 1084 Queen Anne Road, that's where this home is located. 140 State Street, which is the corner of Queen Anne Road, residential. The project is currently being redesigned. 1425 Teaneck Road,
Thank you.
the old DPW maintenance shop, proposed for senior housing in 2017. It was zoned for a 4-story mixed-use development consisting of retail on the ground floor and 3 stories of apartments above. Restricted to residents 55 and older, and the property is currently for sale. The township planner will examine if the property should be declared as an area in need of redevelopment. And that's a picture of 1425, the old DPW maintenance shop. 60 Bergen Avenue, the Brookdale, that was approved by zoning in June of 2014, consisted of 62 senior housing units. Construction permit issued September 17, 2014. The CO was issued April of 2016, and the project was completed in 2017. HUD project providing rental housing for low-income seniors. The property pays taxes on land and makes additional payment of little taxes. Pilot totals approximately $65,000 per year. The dual brand hotel at Glen Point, which is located 284 East Oakland Avenue. That's the Hampton Inn and Suites, today's Homewood Suites, 13 stories, 350 total rooms. The planning board approved the application in 2015. Construction permit was issued in May 2016, and the CO was issued in October 2018. They completed the project in September of this past year. Annual taxes was $1.5 million. 10 Walgreens, this is a commercial store, 520 Cedar Lane. That project was completed in 2017. Annual tax is $129,676. This is the old Louis Diner. The 7-Eleven store, 735 Cedar Lane. That was completed this past summer. Annual tax there is $58,383. Mini Mall, 1280 Teaneck Road, commercial. Planning Board approved the application on October 26, 2017 for a 6,630 square foot retail space with 28 parking spaces. The Richard Broda Center, Recreation Center, municipal infrastructure. Some of the projects we completed recently, the new lighting was installed in Gym 2. We'll probably install the dimmer switch in 2019. That runs about $15,000 for that switch, but we have plans to do that in 2019. We're currently replacing the roof. The solar panels were taken off. We're going to replace the entire roof this month. Scheduled for window and facade replacement in 2019, and we're hoping to get to replace the lights in Gym 1 in 2019 as well. This is the Teaneck Public Library, some of the projects that will be going on. Replacement of the cooling tower in 2019, phone charging stations in the lower level and reference room, service for tweens and teens, teen services, librarian hired in November 2018 to expand the specialized services to students grades 5 through 12, additional gaming, crafts, movies, and a teen advisory board. Enhancing digital content such as e-books, audiobooks, Mango language learning apps, Beanstack. The Teaneck Public Library has a 3-year strategic plan, community-wide surveys, and focus groups to come. It's the official occasion for New Jersey Makers Day, sponsored by Friends of Teaneck Public Library. That's on Friday, March 22nd, and Sunday, March 24th. And also the celebration of making or maker culture. STEM, which stands for science, tech, engineering, and math and crafts. Also, with the library, Garden to Nurture Human Understanding, the Enslaved African Memorial, Holocaust Memorial, Education Center, all projects underway. The Garden to Nurture Human Understanding has received a 2019 full-year grant, with $100,000 from the New Jersey Department of Community Affairs to jointly develop fundraising brochures, marketing material, an archival web platform to preserve and share historical information related to the Holocaust and enslaved Africans, programming and events, a joint 501c3 nonprofit organization with regards to nurture human understanding. Helping Hands Food Pantry, as some of you may know, we relocated them to the old health department, which is in the basement of the old municipal building. They're using that facility currently. We have plans to move them to the old building department, which has more square footage. Probably we're about a year or two away from them moving to the building department, where they have more room. Our friend Janice. Voti Park, the Sportsplex was completed in 2014. The splash pad was completed in the summer of 2018. The Fieldhouse bid was awarded in 2018. We anticipate groundbreaking on or about March of this year, with the anticipated completion date of November 2019. The all-inclusive playground, the plans are currently under review, and we also anticipate completion of that project in 2019. The outdoor exercise center, again, we also anticipate completion of that project in 2019. Phelps Dog Park, we put a new surface there over the last few months. We put a 3-inch layer of pea gravel. That was completed in December, and we're also going to put some permanent seating in the dog park and hopefully get rid of some of the plastic chairs that are there. Our emergency alert system, as most of you know, we have 6 sirens in town. We're in place right now. We're adding 4 additional siren towers at Margaret Street, Pembroke Street, Endicott and Iris Court. That will help us deliver the messages we need to deliver in a time of crisis. What we also did this past December, we have an Emergency Operations Center, aka Executive Conference Room at the Municipal Building, that we use in times of crisis, and that's where one of the base stations for the siren towers are located. But we were able to purchase radios. They will be installed shortly. That will give us constant communication with law enforcement, the fire department, EMS, Holy Name Hospital, FDU, Public Safety, and other various law enforcement emergency agencies. That's a picture of the siren tower by the municipal building. Glenwood Pump Station, a vital piece of infrastructure. The bid was awarded at the end of 2018, and work should commence in the spring of 2019. Teaneck Road Streetscape, that bid was awarded in November 2018. That covers Teaneck Road from Selfridge Avenue to Tryon Avenue. There'll be new colored and stamped sidewalks, new decorative light poles, site amenities, improved benches, receptacles, new trees, plaza area, landscape design. We anticipate breaking ground in March of 2019. We have a pre-con meeting coming up very shortly. Bike share, this is something I'm looking into. I think it's going to be something useful for the residents of Teaneck and for the community at FDU as well. We're going to be accepting bids in the spring of 2019, and we'll provide rental of bicycles and scooters in the township. It's all done by smartphone. No cash is exchanged. The accounts are set up, and you unlock the bike using your smartphone.
If you've got one.
Municipal building renovations. We plan to do the basement remediation in the spring of 2019. The goal for me is to do demolition in the basement to clean that area out. And at some point, again, we will come up with a design, and we'll certainly move the food pantry from where they're at to the building department. And we're also looking to do in 2019 new windows, Yankee gutters, and a new roof for the municipal building, and renovation of the second floor and engineering office. PSC&G, I did not see Danette Burley. Oh, she's in the back. Danette Burley is here in the back. Thank you, Danette. Thanks for coming. I'll let you cover that. I want to steal your thunder, but PSC&G is currently upgrading to a 69 kV line that's going to provide for better redundant service to Teaneck and the contiguous municipalities. And again, Danette will speak about that in a little bit. Anderson Street, Cedar Lane Bridge project. We had the second stakeholder meeting today. Some of you were in attendance for that meeting. The first phase of this is the local concept development, which will take about 18 months. Local preliminary engineering study, which will take about 18 months. The final design is another 18 months, and then they'll proceed with the construction. There is a chance that, and this is very important for everyone to know, at some point, Teaneck and Hackensack will discuss whether there's a need to completely close the bridge during construction. Should we keep one lane open? But we'll cross that bridge when we get there, no pun intended. But again, this is a major project, and again, there may be a period of time, 9 months, 10 months, a year, where that bridge will be closed. But again, we have a little time to think about that. The municipal green, I'm looking to put a nice digital sign on the southern end of the municipal green so that traffic going north and south on Teaneck Road, east and west on Cedar Lane will be able to see messages from the township and or the Board of Education. So we're looking into that project as well. Township of Teaneck Police Department, we need to repair the shooting range at police headquarters. We're currently seeking a contractor. The HVAC system was recently completed. The PAL building, we're going to propose demolition in 2019, and that's at the corner of Billington and Bell. Drainage study, we've had some water issues at these two parks, specifically Phelps and Sagamore. The engineer will conduct a study. We anticipate that beginning sometime in 2019. 1600 River Road, DPW, phase 1 study is underway. Township planner will examine the site as well to determine if the area should be replaced declared as an area in need of redevelopment. Engineering and municipal infrastructure, the completed projects, the solar flashing crossing sign on River Road by FDU was completed. The solar flashing crossing sign at Palisade Avenue by the Rhoda Center. Completed road resurfacing Palisade Avenue sections 6 and 7. That was completed in the summer of 2017, and that covered Palisade Avenue between Cedar Lane and West Anglewood Avenue. Milling, paving, spot fixing of curbs, driveway aprons, drainage improvements, new pavement markings and traffic signs, repaving of the Boutique Park walking path was also done. We completed Van Arsdale Place drainage improvements in the fall of 2018. That's by the Rhoda Center, Palisade Avenue by the Rhoda Center. Also completed Beverly Road improvements in 2018 from between River Road and Lincoln Ave. New asphalt, spot fixing curb and driveway aprons. We also completed Teaneck Street drainage improvements, and we completed 2017 Capital Roadway resurfacing projects in 2018. So we made about 12 miles of roads using 2017 capital monies. Beverly Road. Upcoming projects: Voorhees Street improvements, Teaneck Road to the Anglewood border. That's out to bid. Bid date is February 26th. Anticipated start date is the spring, and we expect to complete this in the summer of 2019. Palisade Avenue, Section 8, milling and repaving from Cedar Lane to the Pagoda border. Out the bid is, bid date is February 26th, and we anticipate starting that project in the spring of 2019 and completing it in the summer of 2019. Phelps Park Splash Pad, upcoming projects, that's from Bergen County Open Space. Possibly groundbreaking sometime in 2019. I'm not 100% sure on that, but we do have money from Open Space, an Open Space grant. County roads, I spoke to the county today, and they confirmed they're going to be paving at some point this year, Teaneck Road from Cedar Lane to the Bergenville border, all of River Road from the Pagoda border to the Milford, as well as the Graw Avenue from Teaneck Road to the Pagoda border. And he also said that in sometime between 2020 and 21, Cedar Lane will be paved as well. 2018 Capital Road resurfacing will be done and starting in the spring of 2019. We have 26 township roads, approximately 4.5 miles. We anticipate starting those road resurfacing projects in the summer of 2019 and completing them sometime in the fall of this year as well. And I have a list of all the roads that we plan on resurfacing. Again, this will be on the website. The link will be on there, so you can see the list of all the roads that we have planned for 2019. And this is a map that covers the roads that have been resurfaced from 2015 through 2018. And then there'll be another map on the website as well, which will show the roads that are being repaved in 2018. Suez Water, again, I have the handout that I brought. That's the most recent information from them. You can visit the website, Teaneck website, for additional information. And Suez, again, they did not show up, but they did say they can accommodate additional usage from the new infrastructure in town. Okay, I'm going to have to change the agenda here a little bit. I have Dr. Irving from Teaneck Public Schools, the superintendent of schools. He has a meeting at 7 o'clock, so I want him to come up and speak for a few minutes on the impact that infrastructure in town may have on the township and the school systems. Dr. Irving?
Good evening, everyone. I apologize for running back and forth. One of the hardest jobs of being superintendent, aside from making sure kids are educated, is making sure that when you have impending snow, that information is communicated appropriately. So we are having a potential snowstorm tomorrow, and I've been dealing with just how to communicate that to our parents and what the plan is for that. So with that said, I want to thank the city manager, the township manager, excuse me, for the opportunity to address you today, members of the council, and the leadership here. I will say a few things as I have some brief remarks. In my tenure here and working with the many facets of the community here in town, Our chief of police, our fire chief, and our city manager have been absolutely amazing in being able to really wrap their arms around the school system and ensuring that we are true partners in the work that we're doing. And in doing so, the township manager had a conversation with me in reference to developments that are happening in town, and we had a long but honest conversation about the potential impact that will have relative to new students coming in district, the opportunities for additional busing and what that will look like as far as zoning is concerned. And the truth of the matter is, I don't think the Board of Education, neither has the township, prepared itself for that conversation. So in doing so, the board has commissioned myself and our staff to do a demographical study, and we are conducting that study as we speak. We are hoping to have that report done and reported to the Board of Education by May. At that point in time, we will take that same information and be shared with the town council as well as the township manager. We will share that information with the township and their leadership to make sure we're all on the same page. It's our hope to then put a plan of action together for the Board of Education to anticipate any increases or potential increases in influx and enrollment. But until that study happens, we will have a very true and honest rendering of what the new developments will look like. I'm sure it will impact us in some way. I mean, that's, anecdotally, I think we all can agree to that. The question is, can we quantify that? And how best can we quantify that? And the only way to do that is to do a legitimate study. And looking at the residences, the types of families who will come in, potential age groups that happen to be there. What I will tell you is that we are prepared, as we have done so in the last 7-8 months that I've been here, for any and all changes that will happen, and be able to incorporate that in the long range of work that we're already doing in our school system. Outside of the $1.2 million preschool expansion that we received earlier this year, outside of the ability to settle both of the bargaining unit contract for our administrators and last week our teachers contract, outside of the work we're doing on our strategic plan, and I invite everyone to take part in that conversation. We have posted and have everything on Facebook and on the district website, and I want to again thank the township for them for they posting their information as well. But we invite you to take part of our 5-year projection for where the school system is going to go under the tenure in which I happen to be here. In addition to that, we also invite you to take part in the many forums we're doing on the budget and the budget creation of the school system. One of the reasons why I have to check out of here, literally in about 15 minutes, is because our first forum is this evening, but please fear none. If you happen to miss the forum tonight, I'm sure our township manager has had you so compelled with information. There is another forum that we are doing that is on the district website, but we believe wholeheartedly in transparency and opening ourselves to folks in this community and hearing feedback, whether I like to hear it or not, because all the comments that you share with me allows us to make an even better school system. And mark my word, to be very clear, we have an amazing school system here in Teaneck, an amazing school system. And so even before coming here, I know there have been comments and thoughts in reference to the type of educational system that we have in Teaneck. And I would ask anyone to look at other communities of color, like Teaneck, that have such a diverse, spectrum of students. Look at the Montclair, look at the West Orange, look at the South Orange neighborhoods, and we outperform many of those school districts in addition to some of our Bourbon County cohorts. But with that said, we got to be better at telling our story, and we will get better at telling our story. And so, to bring all this to a close, we are committed to working with the township, with members of the council, to be able to share any of the demographic information that we have relative to the impact development will have on the respective schools. But we do know, given the applications we have for preschool, that the expansion of our preschool program is a major priority for this community, and we will continue to work with that. I see one of our preschool employees here, Ms. Rice, doing a great work at Christ Church with us. But we recognize that is a major area, and that's just by the ability for us to notice how many parents did not receive that application or not receive the opportunity there. We will then study all the additional information, and then I assume Dean and I will have a conversation and talk through with our respective boards how best we move forward together, as one united community. So that's really my 2 cents. Thank you, Dr.
Next, I'd like to call up Mr. Price, Richard Price, our township planner.
Good evening. I'm Richard Price. I'm the township planner. I think you can see by virtue of all the projects that are underway most of which have occurred or were initiated in the last 3 or 4 years, that Teaneck is very committed and helpful to those in the private sector who are looking to undertake redevelopment projects. If you just look at the range of projects which have occurred, most of those were actually identified by the private sector and brought to Teaneck. Avalon Bay, 1500 Teaneck Road, 227 Teaneck Road. But in all of those instances, Teaneck was very amenable to sitting down with those folks and discussing the way in which a development could be facilitated, and both the council, the zoning board, the planning board, and a variety of consultants, of which I'm just one, the various departments, engineering, traffic, work very closely with those bodies to facilitate that redevelopment. I think in future, Teaneck will continue to rely on the private sector to identify redevelopment opportunities. There are 2 potential redevelopment projects which are in the works, both of which are DPW sites that Dean mentioned, 1425 Teaneck Road and 1600 River Road. We're undertaking an analysis to see if those areas qualify as an area in need of redevelopment, and to the extent they do, some kind of redevelopment plan will be put in place for their future development. I think looking further into the future in terms of where Teaneck might be going, I think the potential lies mostly in the various commercial areas, the Cedar Lane Central Business District, the West Englewood Avenue area, the area around Queen Anne and Broad. And I think one of the things that we've identified, because there has been some interest in that area, is the way in which additional parking could be accommodated to allow for a redevelopment there. And we are looking, Deputy Mayor Mark Schwartz and I have been working together to identify the extent to which that additional parking could be provided in a public-private partnership to facilitate the development of some of those soft sites. I think the main thing to convey is that really Teaneck is open and very progressive when it comes to development. It doesn't mean that it will accept everything. Sometimes there are requirements that have to be met that not all the developers particularly like or appreciate, but for the good of the community and for the protection of the residents and the neighbors, those things have to be taken into consideration. If you have somebody who has identified a particular development opportunity, meetings can be set up whereby those are brought forward to the various bodies that deal with that, and you can to this development forum. I think you can see that Teaneck is very actively engaged with the community and facilitating development in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Richard. I'd like to now call up Mr. Frank Piazza, our co-board administrator for the township. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. My name is Frank Piazza. Excuse me. So the township contacted me a while back and asked me to begin to work with the development as it comes online. My job is to make sure that all the affordable units are properly marketed. The state has a myriad of regulations to follow to make sure that the affordable housing units that we all saw on the plans are affirmatively marketed, that are open and as an equal housing opportunity to everyone. And so the process, as each new project comes online, will be that this marketing through papers, through mailings, etc. On our website, housingquest.com, you can go there anytime and find out information about affordable housing in a good chunk of this county and throughout the state. The project is marketed. There's a period of time, usually between 60 and 90 days, where we stop and then just accept applications, preliminary applications. We put the preliminary application data into our database. Then there's what's commonly referred to as a lottery, which is really a random prioritization of all the applications received through that deadline date. And then after the deadline date, we continue to receive applications typically until the list gets too big. And those are received on a first come, first served. So this first time frame is to give everybody an equal chance at of the affordable units. The newest project, then after that we do the final application process, which is a much more in-depth process where we have to certify the applicant's income to make sure that all of the applicants are eligible for the units that they're renting or purchasing. I will leave up front here the preliminary application for the newest development, which is the Avalon Teaneck project. There's 25 affordable units in that project. There's 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, and 3 bedroom. There are very low, and moderate income units. And so the application form kind of explains it all, so if you have any interest, there might not be enough for everyone. I think I brought about 30 or so. In any case, these are just fresh off the press, hot off the press, as they say. We're going to be putting up the webpage for Avalon Teaneck by the end of this week, so you'll be able to go download an application. And you can email us at any time at teaneck@housingquest.com, and we will email you back an application as well. So as each new development comes online, we'll go through the same exact process, and then we'll put all of the applications together in one municipal application once we introduce each of the projects. Thank you. I'll leave the applications up here for anybody who wants them.
Teaneck, would you like to step up for a minute from TSCEG?
Good evening. Thank you for allowing me to share with you tonight. My name is Donnette Burley, and I'm the Regional Public Affairs Manager for PSCG. So, I'm not sure what was on that slide before, but I believe 69 can be, and I'll also touch on GSMP. We have several projects going on right now throughout the state, but also in Teaneck. So, as I'm sure many of you are aware, we have a substation in Teaneck. But there's one that we've been actively working on. So you've been seeing PSCG trucks rolling in and out of town. So we're upgrading the electrical system here pretty much. And it's to allow for more capacity. These days, everyone is buying high efficiency washers, dryers, refrigerators. And looking into the future, all these appliances will be doing so much more than they do today. So we are preparing for that, as well as meeting the demand as the town grows. So in reference to, for example, the new development, we have the capacity currently to handle all the units that are being built there. We are also, you'll see some taller poles going in, and that's a new requirement by the government, that the poles now have to be taller than they are today. It's called 69 kV, so you'll see us actively doing that as well, especially along Palisades and Windsor area. You'll see the trucks putting in new poles and relocating the infrastructure from short poles to taller poles. And it's a safety issue that the DPU now requires us to have such tall poles. And so I think there's a bit of a path from Teaneck to New Milford and then to Dumont, because that's the path that our substations take, and the infrastructure follows that.
Can you hold the mic closer?
Oh, I'm sorry. In addition to 69 kV, you will also see us we're changing out our gas mains. So currently we have cast iron gas mains, a lot, Not everywhere, there's still some steel, but we are changing out the cast iron gas mains. They're over 100 years old, and as things age, they leak. And so we have been proactively upgrading those. So we do leak surveys annually, and wherever we find the pipes that are leaking the most, those are the priority on the list to change out as quickly as possible. So we're changing those out to PVC. So again, you'll see us in town. We were in town last year and the year before. We have just been approved for GSMP 2, which is a 5-year program. Prior to that, we had GSMP 1, which was a 3-year program. But the BPU recently approved us for 5 years, so we'll be practically doing that throughout the state as well. So we're changing out the old gas mains and replacing them and upgrading them. And for the roads that have not been finally paved, if you go over a bumpy road that we were working on in the fall, we will be back to paving in the spring. It's the winter moratorium, so we can't really pave. If we pave right now, it will be probably worse condition than by spring, late spring and summer. So we usually wait for the weather and we do the final pave. And we will be doing more streets with the gas upgrade. And again, that's to handle, not just changing out the pipes to make them more modern and be able to handle the capacity. We're also putting in high pressure gas to handle, again, those appliances, those generators, newer buildings. We're meeting the demand. So there's a need for it. And along with it's time to upgrade the infrastructure. So that's what we're doing currently. So you'll see us busy in town in certain sections as we work our way through where the cast iron mains are that we need to replace. So actually I need to meet with you to discuss this as well. In addition to that, we are in the process of trying to also improve lighting. So that's something in the very near future that I'll need to meet with the township manager to talk about as well. Okay. I actually thought I spoke pretty loudly. Is there anything else?
We'll get to the question and answer period at the end. And then
But pretty much that's it for the projects that we have going on in town at the moment.
Okay, thank you, Donette. Anyone here from New Jersey Transit? I do have a little bit of information on the slide, Doug. So the power to designate bus stops rests with the municipality of Teaneck. So we can either move and/or request a new bus stop. New Jersey Transit bears the cost, though, however, of installing bus shelters at bus stops. The township is responsible for the maintenance of the bus stops. That includes the shoveling of snow after a snowstorm. And right now, we currently have 195 bus stops in Teaneck. I know everyone probably wants to know, can NJ Transit accommodate the development in town? I'm sure they can. We're not any different than Hackensack, the development there, and the development north of Teaneck along Washington Avenue. So we sent out a letter to NJ Transit. Obviously, they're not here. I reached out to them as well, but I was able to get this and solicit this information from them. But again, Teaneck has 195 bus stops. We can, if there's a need, we can designate other bus stops. We would work with NJ Transit. They can build bus shelters. We obviously have to maintain them. Okay, at this time, what I want to do is open this up to a question and answer period. And before that, Deputy Mayor Schwartz has raised his hand, so I will bring the mic over.
It's actually a question, though I know the answer. And looking around the room, I see a lot of people who have come out from some various forums. Many people who I've spoken to about the affordable housing component. I think 30 copies is definitely not enough. But I think what I wanted to discuss on, or ask you to clarify, is there is no preference, unfortunately, by state law to give these affordable apartments to Teaneck residents. And I believe that's the case. I'll ask you to answer that. But assuming that is the answer, as we've been told many times in the past, I think the most important thing that should come out of a meeting like this, if the sense that I've gotten is people are here for the affordable housing, is that community groups need to get involved with gathering those applications up for people, from getting them submitted, because sitting back and just assuming people are going to download it won't happen, and that we need to be proactive as a community, as neighbors, as community leaders, activists, houses of worship, to get those applications in. I believe at the property in 60 Bergen, well into the majority of residents have never lived in Teaneck before. They're from almost all from out of town, but they were advised by their community, many from Leonia and Palisades Park, I believe, to get their applications in, and subsequently they won it. So if indeed the vibe that I'm getting from the room and the people I've spoken with is about the affordable housing, and as we see, there's dozens upon dozens of available apartments coming online for very good prices. Rental. Let's work with our community leaders to get that in. So that was my question and my comment. I also just wanted to maybe ask Steve, can you stand up for a second? I just wanted to thank you. Steve, is it? Steve Stafford, sorry. Can you stand up? Just wanted to recognize for pushing over the last year to have this forum, so I just wanted to publicly thank you. I'm sorry to be embarrassed.
Sure, just to explain, in 1993, I think, the state Supreme Court decided that because the obligation, the number that the state determines what obligation each town has for affordable housing, that obligation is based on regions of the state. And because of that, the court decided that it was not legal for a town to have a preference, a municipal preference we would call it, and still meet its obligation, that the obligation, the preference has to come from the region, and it's a 4-county region around Bergen County, so that's the only preference that's possible. And because it's such a, a huge area of the state, it really has no material impact. But I strongly encourage anyone can help pass out the applications, get them back, send them to us. I would be careful, just a word of caution, that the application itself includes, personal information. So you might want to, consider that in the process as well. But getting the applications out there to people is a real important part of this. And the more applications that are out there in the community, the better. If you can take, download the application and make them available in municipal offices, at various offices, the library, as well. If you have a community group names and you want to just shoot me an email, you can come up and I'll give you a card afterward. And you are more than welcome to let me know what community group, and we'll add you to the mailing, the marketing list for future development.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Piazza. And the last one you just mentioned, is there a date for that application, the new ones that are available for the
Avalon?
Could you just share the date, because you said you have the applications already?
Friday.
I believe it's the deadline date for the lottery is April 30th for this particular property, because it's just coming out now.
Thank you so much. And I think that if there is indeed an interest, we can certainly try to provide support for anyone that is interested. I know the block associations and other associations can help with those applications. And I also want to say thank you to the residents who, as Mark mentioned, I know that residents are just genuinely concerned about all the different properties that are going up. And I just want to say thank you to Dean for this comprehensive presentation. I'm sure that there will be more as we continue to grow in Teaneck. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, we've been talking about this a long time, and I'm glad that people came out tonight to hear the official point of view about this whole thing. the one thing that didn't get mentioned, and I'm gonna put Dean on the spot, folks are concerned about traffic. And is there any discussion about how we deal with that?
I'll turn this over to our township engineer, Barry Delani. When these projects are done, there is a traffic study that is conducted, but I will let her explain the process.
Good evening, everyone. So as Dean mentioned that... Good evening, everyone. Can everybody hear me? As Dean mentioned that whenever we have any development projects come in, we have their traffic study done, and our traffic consultant reviews it, and if there is any impact on it, it's on to the developer who has to mitigate the impact. So, so far, whatever development, we did the study, and whatever the level of service is before, it should be the same or better.
Excuse me. Would you like me to comment on that? I know I've gotten some questions about Teaneck Road and Englewood Avenue. That's an intersection that's about 200 feet north of Teaneck Road and State. I fielded some questions about why we allow cars to make a left-hand turn. It is a county road. We are currently in discussions with the county of Bergen to see if there's a possibility they would consider preventing a left-hand turn from Englewood Avenue west onto Teaneck Road south. So I don't have an answer for that now, but again, as the engineer said, every development requires this traffic study to be conducted. We rely on the experts to provide us with that information. Okay. Steve?
Thank you. I did want to thank the township manager for meeting with us. I think it's a new model maybe for the town. People who have concerns, you can knock on the door, have somebody open the door and sit down. And that was the genesis of the details of the meeting. Having said that, I haven't learned a lot tonight. It was a good overview, kind of a sales pitch in a way. I heard the numbers, but what you didn't hear, well, there are about 700 units being planned within primarily the northeast part of the town. And as co-president of the East 14 Neighborhood Association, the member of the Northeast Teaneck Block Presidents Association, we're extremely concerned. And we were told that there were studies and there was data, none of which we've heard tonight. The Board of Ed has heard nothing about, has no data analysis. The township planner didn't address any of the questions of how does all of this fit together. How do you figure out what is acceptable? How many units? How does it affect parking? And we understand that he works for the township as a consultant, fine and well. But we, personally, I'm not speaking for anyone else except myself, I was hoping to hear more. Sewerage, infrastructure. What you listed was one side of the accounting table, or the income, I'm not referring to you, all the estimated income. There was nothing discussed, and I'm wondering whether the township planner or the council or the planning board has anything that estimates what the cost to the township. And it could be anywhere from up to 1,500 to 2,000 people, primarily in the Northeast, coming into our community, and they're more than welcome. Everybody's welcome in Teaneck. But how are you going to deal with it? So far, we haven't heard any answers. We heard something a little specific from PSE&G. Sounds like we're okay. But at many council meetings, we've heard, don't worry, it'll work out. And I'm saying, I am worried. I haven't heard anything that implies that, in fact, it will work out. And And I don't even know how you go about doing this. How do you figure out how many cars? How do you estimate who's moving into these apartments? How many children? Well, how do you do that? I haven't heard anything. So also, the other issue is impact on the police force and the firemen. Already, I've heard that the hotels that are built, I don't know how many calls you've gotten, but I'm sure there's a few calls, many calls that you wouldn't have gotten because there was no hotels and, stuff goes on. I don't know how many you got, but there's going to be more buildings and more problems. And hopefully all of this can be managed, but we haven't heard anything yet. So I'm still hopeful, and maybe there'll be some other answers. But so far I've been very disappointed, given that this took over a year to get this together. And we asked that the mayor be here. He agreed to come, and then he canceled out because he said he's out of town. Then we had the question of if there were more than 3 council members here, that it wasn't allowed, for them to speak because it wasn't a public meeting. So we said, why don't you call a public meeting? Okay, that wasn't happening. Well, fortunately, there's only 3 council members here, so now they're all allowed to speak and they have. So I remain hopeful, but concerned that you haven't really answered any of my questions.
Trevon, I just want you to speak about the sewer systems in Teaneck and how this infrastructure may impact Teaneck's sewer system. That's why you have everyone here tonight to answer these questions. I'll start out with Trevon.
Good night. So, our project phase, we have 1475 Patterson Avenue. We have 127 units. So, the DEP calculated that for each 2-bedroom apartment, we for those units, we will produce 30,000 gallons per day. 30 gallons per day of wastewater. But right now, the sewer line in that area is running at 15% capacity. An additional 30,000 gallons, we will be up to like 18-20%. So we are way, we can handle the capacity in all areas. And the one that will be most impacted will be Windsor Road.
Exactly.
But fortunately, the infrastructure in that area is way under capacity, so we should be okay. So as far as sewage, we have it covered.
I just want the chief of police also just to make a few comments about the police force and how this may or may not impact your police department.
Well, his name is?
Good evening.
So far.
So I don't know how many new residents will be brought in by this. There are some studies to suggest how many officers you should have per 1,000 residents. That is a guide, it's not a hard and fast number. So obviously more people may require more police. I say that. Traffic is always a concern. I think we would all agree that it seems like everything's very crowded to begin with. Our big concern...
Our streets are empty, come on.
What?
We have empty storefronts all over town.
Don't do that to me. I'm trying to speak. You don't have an opportunity, raise your hand, otherwise please be quiet.
Who are you?
What I was saying before I was interrupted is that I understand pedestrian safety is my #1 concern. Traffic is a concern, but pedestrian safety is my concern. How this impacts that? I would think there's more cars on the road. Pedestrians, safe to say, might be a little bit more in danger. So one of the biggest pushes that I've tried to do over the last couple of years is pedestrian safety. Improving intersections with FARA, trying to do enforcement campaigns, educational campaigns to make the roads safer. me is something I think is very important, and we're looking to make things as safe as they can be. How this impacts it, not really sure.
Chief Zarowski for the fire department.
All right, I'm going to sort of take a slightly different tack on it, and I hope you can follow my logic here. To address the first question, so when they put the hotel up, there were some issues with the alarm system there that we've since rectified. So we did have a spike in run volume for a while, and we worked with them and we figured out the solution to the problem. I think we're all happy with it, and so that's stemmed, and I think we're in a good place with it. And just so we're clear on that, I would sort of expect that anytime you put a new building like that into place, right? It's a new building, new alarm system, it's going to have its hiccups. I think we've gotten through that. So I appreciate the recognition, but I think we're okay there. So then, the question to me becomes, in terms of development, what does it matter to me as a fire chief, right? And so, my preference would be that we do all small homes, because I recognize that fire, and I've got enough men that we can go and deal with that problem. But whether or not Teaneck develops or not, that's not the reality of the problem that I face, right? I live in Route 4, I see Englewood, I live across the river down there, I see Hackensack, and we're building. And so I've got to staff my department, and I've got to manage my department from the perspective of, how do I deal with this larger problem, right? It's a bigger problem, but it's there. And so you put up one, and it's a bigger problem, because these structures are different than the typical home or thing that we deal with, right? So from our side, you put up one, and it really doesn't matter if it's in Teaneck, if it's in Englewood, if it's in Hackensack, or New Milford, or Leona, or Pagoda. It doesn't matter, because once you put up the first one, the fire problem changes. So our response to that has to change, right? And so the question is, immediately, do we have the staff to deal with these different buildings? Well, the answer is that that's what we're working on. I'm trying to figure that out. I may come back to you in a year and say, wow, my run volume spiked because there's just more people and more housing units, and there's going to be more problems. And that may be realistic. And I'm going to come to them and say, boss, I need more guys, more people. But at this immediate moment, listen, I mean, that problem exists. So my last point on this, right? Whether there's one of these buildings that's big and that has these different big building problems, or there's 50 of them, it's still, I still got to be ready for big building problems, right? If there's 50 of them, it just means there's 50 times the likelihood that I'm going to have that specific problem. You understand me? You understand what my last kids on that? That's probably where I'm at. Marty, you want to say something?
Thank you, Chief. Dr. Bowers?
I think that's our follow-up on what Steve Sarah said. There's a lot of concentration of where this development was occurring, and I was surprised that you didn't discuss tonight 100 State Street, because in one sense, those that, rather than 1600 or 425 Teaneck, which are really a long way away, on Thursday night, there's going to be a decision about whether or not to have 68 new. Did I miss your discussion of 100 State Street? And can you talk about that? Because what we know is that the public has no knowledge of what that's involved. If you go to the Teaneck website, you can't find out anything about what's going to occur on Thursday night. It is a very major hearing, and it has to do with municipal property and with an additional 68 additional apartments to that one area.
I think I have Doug, if you can pull up the slide for that, I believe the date of the hearing is on it for Thursday. Yes.
You got it.
So let me just address some of the issues that have been raised, and I'm sorry that in my initial presentation I didn't discuss it. I think there's two ways to look at it. There's one on an individual project-by-project basis. And essentially what happens as each development project comes online, as I mentioned before, there are various professionals involved in the review of it. We have our Jelani Fast Tech looks at it from civil engineering point of view. We have Stonefield who looks at it from a parking and traffic point of view. our office looks at it from a development point of view, zoning, planning, neighborhood issues, and so forth. And then once the project comes in, either at the zoning stage or at the variance stage and site plan approval, the information about the project is solicited, and it's very detailed, and it's sent out to all of the municipal agencies, police, fire, right down through, Shade Tree Environmental Commission, and that information then comes back to the board who makes that decision. So, and the other thing is that in terms of utility and infrastructure, each developer is required to make sure that when they come online that there is sufficient capacity. So things like water and sewer and storm drain, all of those things are considered. So that is done on a project-by-project basis. And each of the projects that were mentioned tonight that have been approved that are going ahead have been thoroughly vetted, and those issues have been covered. Perhaps the one thing, and I'll get your question perhaps the one thing we didn't, when we did the master plan back in 2007, and we re-examined it a couple of years ago, we didn't, quite frankly, at that period of time, and it may be a good time to do it again, to look at it kind of on a comprehensive basis and kind of look forward. So I think that the Board of Education, in terms of them doing the demographic analysis and figuring out the number of school kids that would be generated, that is something that is sensible to do, and that is something that the planning board, through our offices and working with the community, we could also kind of take a look at those impacts. One of the things I'll say, though, in terms of the demographics in the school system is most of the units, the residential units which are coming online, are rental projects. It's mostly 1- and 2-bedroom apartments. And there are statistics which are published by the Center for Urban Policy Research based on census data, which projects the number of people and the number of school children and those that will attend public school for each kind of unit type. And one of the things that is very significant about those projects is that those projects actually generate very few school children that actually go to the public school system. Now, the Board of Education is going to look into that, obviously, and provide some comprehensive numbers. But that was something that was taken into consideration when those projects were looked at. And we also, on a case-by-case basis, even though formal studies weren't done, considered the fiscal impacts, the impacts that it would have on the taxes. And in each of those cases, because the most significant cost to the community is the education of school children, because the numbers that were generated were low and the values of these units are high, the tax numbers that were indicated will significantly outweigh whatever the municipal costs are, and in particular the school district costs. So in terms of from a revenue point of view, Teaneck is on a better and a much more solid footing going forward, and will have the revenues to deal with the impacts of those projects. The only thing that is missing, and this is something that we could certainly do, work with the community, and I'm happy to work with whomever in the community needs that information, is to kind of do it on a comprehensive basis. There is information on that to some extent in the Housing Element and Fair Share Plan, which is going to be before the Planning Board at the end of this month on February the 28th, which deals with all of these projects and the extent to which the affordable housing needs of the community are going to be met. So I don't want anybody to leave this room thinking that their question has been ignored, or that the answers to the questions in terms of does Teaneck have the capacity, to fight the fires, to deal with the police impacts, to serve, water, sewer, flooding, all of those kinds of things. Those things have been done on an individual case-by-case basis. And in each of those cases, it's up to the developer really to make sure that that infrastructure is in place so that there are no impacts on the community involved in the particular things. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick.
I saw that hand back there first.
Hi,
traffic, the lady, I would like her to address the traffic one more time. I mean, I don't have an engineer degree, but I do know that I've taken pictures, and I want to know what time of day did they do these studies. I've taken pictures where traffic on State Street, as you said, have been backed up all the way going to Queen Anne Road. And that's without 800 units actually coming in here. So I would like her to be more specific. I'm also concerned really about the school systems. The gentleman just said it probably won't impact because it'll only be 2 rooms. What about, we have a lot of people that come into the community that have special needs children. So my question is, that's money. That's a lot of money that then the taxes will have to go up. And we know that we are a targeted community just dealing with people bringing their children into the community because of special needs in the school system. I don't know if I'm wrong. I know, that's what I've watched, that's what I've heard when I've gone to these meetings. So I'm looking at my taxes also is going to go up. The northeast section is, you can't, it's so dangerous over there right now just crossing the street for our seniors. So there's a lot more. When you say you take an individual projects and studying it at that point, you should be looking at the whole map of how this is going to impact Teaneck. And that's, so could the lady come up about the traffic? Because I think there needs to be a serious study, not just, you didn't tell me anything. And I can show you the pictures that I took it on purpose because I keep saying, what is Teaneck telling us?
Thank you very much.
For each project, as our panel said, that for each project, we do the existing condition analysis and the proposed condition analysis. Like after the community is built or the development is built, then what the impact will be on the traffic. So, and it goes not only at the immediate area, but also the project on the whatever other areas are, so that.
But what does it say? What does it specifically say? The analysis says Teaneck Road and State Street. How many cars were there at 5 o'clock in the evening?
Yes.
How many cars were there at 8 o'clock in the morning? What exactly happened? How many people are crossing? How many cars are parked? I want to know what's going to happen there.
And double park.
And double park. And the buses. And the school buses. It is so impacted just now. And we don't even have the 800 families in yet. So I want to see that study and to show me what's going to be different now, today, and 5 years down the line.
Yes, we have it. We have the project number with the build and condition. It means that after the development is built and what would be the numbers. And based on that, those numbers will plug in a computer system which give you that what the level of service of that street or intersection would be. So based on that, we do our.
So what are the numbers? What are the numbers? That's what we need to know. Is it 1,000 cars that go down at 5 o'clock? Is it at 5 o'clock? Is it going to be 2,000 next week?
I don't have those numbers right now, but we have those studies in our office, and you can come and take a look at it.
I have to come to your office to take a look at the numbers.
To piggyback on all of this, Mayor's Court, Old Raven, and all that, we already have Restaurant Row, we have the nightclub, we have commuter parking. There is no spots for the people who live there. And now you want to build more apartments and more stores there. So more people are going to be coming there. So I go home now and I have to drive around, hope somebody gets out of a spot. I pay for a garage, but right now it's a little full, so I can't use it. But I pay for a garage. And now I have to maybe park who knows where. And you have parking restrictions, so I'd have to move my car by a certain time. It's ridiculous. And by the way, Ayers Court and all that, it's a snow street, so you can park there when it snows, but the ice between the cars is so dangerous. I've already fallen last year. And so I was just wondering, when I've addressed this parking issue once before, you said, oh, but you know, the commuters, they need to park somewhere. We're all township people. So I don't have a parking space so somebody can get a bus on Teaneck Road. So somebody can go to Sammy's for 3 hours of dinner and I don't have a spot. What's going to happen? I mean, what help are you going to make the residents who already live there?
I'll answer that question actually in twofold answers. As it relates to the parking, the developments that are being built in the area immediate to Ayers Court and Westgate Terrace Circle where I live, which is 1500 Teaneck Road, 1475 Palisades, and if you want to consider Avalon Bay, there were minimal, if any, and I believe there's no variances given for parking. On the sheets, on the presentations right there, it discusses how many hundreds and hundreds of parking spots are being built for those developments, specifically because of your concerns, which are not really opinions, they're facts. And so, if we can actually go back on someone's controlling the PowerPoint, we just add up the spots. If we go back to each of them, all the way to the beginning, that's not nowhere near there, nowhere near there. 1475 Palisades, one more. This particular parking lot, in my opinion, actually has 251 parking spots for 128 total units. That is almost a penny, 2 parking spots per apartment. There'll be plenty of parking in this development. If you can go to either 1500 or to Avalon Bay and look at the numbers there, 1775 Windsor, Avalon Bay, there is 491 parking spots for 248 units, almost exactly again, 2 spots for every apartment. And lastly, 1500 Teaneck Road, that has 224 units, 435 parking spots. So that particular concern, we heard in that particular concern, I believe this addresses it. One thing I do want to add, on Thursday night, if you can go over to 100 State Street, the term that you put on this PowerPoint says off-site parking. And just to reiterate what that means, off-site parking, those 44 off-site parking spaces is going to be a new surface parking lot that's going to be built on State Street. If it's approved, the council approved giving that land to be built at the developer's expense. That parking lot is going to be, if you're looking at the Terrace Circle, Teaneck Gardens, apartments on State Street, there is a mini lot on the left-hand side. This is a sister lot that was designated but never built. And if it's approved, will be built directly across the street from this complex. It is owned by the town, will be owned by the town, but will be built at the developer's expense.
And then people go to the restaurant to park there.
The people are going to the restaurants. It's a business district. I mean, they're going there. There is
a lot of cars.
We absolutely need more parking. That was discussed. Mr. Price mentioned that we have 2 consultants that we're looking to retain. I don't have their names on me. They are parking consultants to retain for a parking authority to give us proposals. First, to do a site survey of Teaneck to see where we can build parking garages. I'm not an expert. The words that have been floating around town are, can we build one in the municipal parking lot by the post office behind Glen Express? Can we build one at the State Street lot, the sister lot on the left-hand side? Can there be one built on Cedar Lane, American Legion Drive? Those are what we've told the consultants to put in a proposal. Whether they come back and say that the turns can't make it, the radiuses aren't good enough, that's above my pay grade, but that's what they're going to be retained to tell us for additional spots in the business districts.
Can you make Ayers Court and Wall Raven just residential?
Those are public streets. Now, Wall Raven, the owners of, it's called Ayers Court, I don't know the formal name, he came before the planning board 2 months ago. They're demolishing approximately 40 garages there to increase their parking. That was, I'm not sure if they demolished it yet, but that got approved specifically for more parking. And War even rents out parking spots on the lot on the left-hand side. But we cannot close the streets and make them residential street only. Again, I'm not the attorney in the room, there are plenty that are, but those are public streets.
What, do you know the time frame for those parking spaces on air?
We approved it last month, it was memorialized, so I imagine construction in the next few weeks. But it was approved.
I got you. Ms. Hannekers?
I have a general comment, I don't know, which is that I'm very, very disappointed that everything that's being developed is going to be residential, which drains the community and adds to the tax tax burdens that we all have to subsidize. I don't know why we can't have something like, I'm not sure where they are, but they have these centers for advanced technology firms which bring in taxes, which bring in money and do not increase the load on sewer system, on school systems, on infrastructure, on everything else. And also what it does is it converts a suburban density into an urban one. We are becoming a city. We are no longer a suburb. Thank you.
Urban suburb.
Thank you.
Urban suburb.
Hello. I'm actually just missing the millennial mark, and I also have a toddler. And I see that bringing in apartment residentials is going to attract a younger demographic than what's currently in Teaneck. And I'm just concerned what innovative things that we will have going on for these people to be active with as far as our businesses. And just things, I mean, we're turning us into our urban suburbia, but we're not thriving on that level as well. How are we going to align that with the commercial businesses so we can also align with some rateable taxes?
Sure. Sean, would you like to just address some programs that the recreation point? There's a lot of
Good evening. So at the Rhoda Center, we have, for our youth division, we have a state license program with mandated students to child ratio. Currently, we have 59 students in our Sunshine Garden Learning Center with a maximum capacity of 60. Our after-school program currently has 139 students with a maximum capacity of 203. Our Camp Sensational, which is for pre-K through grade 3, 150 maximum. We are nearly full every year. Additionally, sports and arts, which is grades 4 through 9, 225 maximum capacity. This is every 2-week session. Also, nearly full every session. Obviously, the more children that we enroll, the more staff we would need for our state mandate. For our seasonal recreation classes that happen throughout the school year, we offer roughly 50 children's classes each session. That's toddlers through age 17. We service anywhere from 375 students to 550 students per session. We offer roughly 10 adult classes per session, ages 18 to 54. And we service anywhere from 70 to 100 adults per session. Additionally, we offer adult open gym basketball and volleyball programs for children and adults. For our senior center, we service 3,200 seniors in 2018. It's an average of 810 per session. This is up 1,100 participants from 2013.
We have between 600 and 700 seniors participate daily at the Rhoda Center. That's in physical fitness activities, educational classes, and social recreation.
So, yes, it will impact our services in town, especially with the recreation department, with senior programs, with programs for our children. It's a fact it will impact, and we may require some additional staff, as Sean has said, but we'll address that as we get to that point. Mr. Rose?
Thank you, and thank you for the presentation. It's a lot of information and it's pretty understandable. I'm wondering, regarding Mr. Price, whether the demographic information you collect on projects, I'm not speaking as a planning board member nor as a Board of Education member, but as a resident. I know though that you have comprehensive information on each of these projects. Does that not get coordinated? Could it not get coordinated with the Board of Education, as well as with various components in the government, the police, the fire, even recreation? I hope that's possible. And Mr. Piazza, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, besides putting out a calling card and some information sheets, can you coordinate with the manager and have that information perhaps put on our township website? I'm wondering, in affordable housing, I know that we can't skew it towards or make it more accessible to Teaneck residents on record, but if the enrollment period, well, before the enrollment period, if the township had heavy advertising on its website, community organizations had heavy advertising within constituency, and we shortened the application period, that would de facto skew it towards Teaneck residents. I hope it's legal.
Everybody else does it.
Yes and no. So yes, I think it might be on the website. We can definitely make sure that there's an active link on and a good place on the website to the Teaneck pages on our website. That's not a problem with the application. And they should physically be at the municipal building and the library as well. No, too, you can't. You know, you can do a lot more publicity here, but you really can't modify the time frame so as to benefit a particular community,
I'm Jackie Cates, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to learn about the ongoing and future projects, but I'd like to speak tonight from a different perspective as project coordinator of Age Friendly Teaneck, an initiative that was established to ensure that Teaneck residents can age in place in their home and in their community. That's a perspective that we aren't really considering tonight. And not that I am here as an advocate of any of the council's action. I am just speaking as an older person who wished to downsize and couldn't find any place in Teaneck to do that. I think you'd be interested to know that the township's overall population grew by 3.5% during the years 2000 to 2016, but its over 65 population grew by 22.6% during the same time period. About 35% of Teaneck households now have at least one person over the age of 65. But most of our housing stock was built single-family homes to serve families with younger children. Teaneck's population is aging. We might want to have some more millennials, but we're not prepared for the aging of the population. We may not be prepared for more millennials either. And that's why this time of development and change in Teaneck really should be an opportunity to examine how well our infrastructure meets the needs of our residents of all ages today and in the future. So we have been meeting, there are 50 residents who have been involved with the identified concerns of Teaneck older adults that include housing options, Not every older adult can afford to stay in his or her home as they get older, or they can't maintain it. There's social isolation that occurs. People are concerned that when they can't drive anymore, Teaneck doesn't have enough transportation options. What happens? I always say I'm the poster child for what I don't want to happen to older adults who want to stay in the community that they love, where they raise their children, where they may have houses of worship, where they have connections. We don't want them to have to leave this community. So we've developed some priority recommendations based on discussions with older adults in Teaneck and with planning experts, and there was a land use analysis of Teaneck from an aging-friendly perspective that's on our website if anybody's interested in reading it. That was done by New Jersey Future, a nonprofit, nonpartisan organization, and our website is www.agefriendlyteaneck.org. We believe that Teaneck should update its master plan to address the growing older population and the evolving lifestyles of a population that wants more walkable neighborhoods, less dependence on cars, and a more affordable and diverse housing stock. A limited diversity in housing stock contributes to the high housing costs, even for those of moderate means. So we think that mixed-use development where people can walk to stores may help to revitalize our business districts by giving them people who are right there and can walk there, as well as filling the housing gap. We believe that adopting universal design standards for all new and renovated residential housing would lead to more barrier-free homes where people could remain as they age or if they have a disability. And anyway, it's the right thing to do, universal design. We would like the town to support home sharing agreements as a possible alternative for those who want to remain in their large single-family homes. Two older adults sharing a home could cut costs for both. A younger person living with an older adult can help resolve upkeep and maintenance costs. The council might want to permit accessory dwelling units on lots that are large enough to support aging family members who could live right on the property, along with loved ones who offer care and support. It may sound radical, but it works in other communities, and we have to think in a different way. We certainly need new transportation solutions that shift away from designs that foster car dependency. The township has endorsed complete streets, an approach that encourages street and sidewalk designs that better serve all users, walkers, cyclists, commuters, as well as drivers. But we need that approach to be incorporated into all township plans, from small street resurfacing projects to major intersection redesigns to large commercial redevelopment. There must be a greater attention to pedestrian safety. And I know the chief talked about it, and we meet with members of the Traffic Bureau. We know how concerned the police department is about pedestrian safety. We're recommending high visibility crosswalks near schools and houses of worship, more crosswalks with dedicated crossing times, such as the four-way crossing at Cedar Lane and Garrison, and more pedestrian-activated signals at busy intersections. We also want to see better lighting at bus stops. With every new development or redevelopment, the township must require the developer to install sidewalks and pedestrian amenities. We want additional strategies to link residents to public transit options. And with every development, it's essential for decision makers, whether it's the council, the planning board, the board of adjustment, to consider the impact on older adults if Teaneck is truly to remain a great place to grow up and to grow old.
Thank you. When it's all said and done, it comes down to property taxes, and nobody spoke about that effectively yet. From the visioning of Teaneck and the plan and the master plan of Teaneck a few years ago, and the new visioning they had also some years ago for the betterment of Teaneck and the various plans of how Teaneck can be much better improved. We also had the tax issues some years ago, and then all the Northeast especially, where they had the evaluation, and that went down okay. But yet, senior citizens every day are wondering how can they live in their homes today, tomorrow, over the next years to come. With the new developments, it was talked about that these developments were supposed to have enough revenue coming to offset the poverty taxes, so the seniors can live in Teaneck. That is not properly addressed yet at all. For many times I spoke to even Mayor Cates when she was the mayor of Teaneck, and now she's not living in Teaneck anymore because of issues, I suppose, of taxes. But let's face it, senior citizens need to have a reduction in their taxes that they can live, because they've already done their time paying taxes for the better the schools. So these new buildings that are going up, I do hope that the council will come up with some issues to show how the property taxes on these buildings can or will offset the property taxes, so that senior citizens can live in Teaneck in their homes that I've had for so many years. And I cannot see why we should be suffering and talking about everything else. But it's good to see all the various people here representing the interest. But when it's all said and done, it comes under property taxes and seniors living in Teaneck. That is something that needs to be focused on in every case and everything that we do. And I do hope to see that the council represents well on that. And that's all I have to say for now.
No, thank you, sir. I'm going to be presenting the 2019 budget this Thursday evening. Deputy Mayor Schwartz?
Yes. The budget will be proposed this Thursday, and I'm hoping that we can get to a zero as well. That'll be our 5th straight zero. If that obviously brings affordability back to town. That being said, if I can address it, the presentation was thorough, but maybe you missed it. This will be up online tomorrow, but if we can just go back to the last lines of the various sites. The last lines of the sites that were already approved discusses the additional revenue that our projects will see. So if those aren't built yet, 1475 Palisades Avenue is going to be $680,000 of additional revenue. If we go back to 1775 Windsor Road, 1.3 million, we're up to 2.1 million right there. 1500 Teaneck Road is 1.16, so that takes us to $3.2 million in additional revenue. Again, I'm talking quickly. This will be on the website tomorrow, so you can review it.
But again, some time ago, we spoke about that in the zero end of the taxes. But the point remained as zero that took place about 2-3 years ago. Now taxes have increased. So the zero issue that you're talking about, I cannot see how it's truly going to affect the senior citizens so they can live in their homes.
The taxes have been zero for the last 4 years. Part of that is the significant permit fees that have been paid by this complex. The hotel, for example, paid approximately $400,000 in permit fees. Now it pays more. We didn't talk about the hotel is $1.5 million. So it's been zero for the last. Show me the tax bill. Show me the tax bill, because the municipal tax has remained the same the last 4 years. The school board's gone up to 2%. The municipal tax has gone up 0. We hope that the municipal tax will continue to be at 0. That's one of the aspects of affordability. The other aspect is that we've mandated, not requested, mandated 15% affordable housing component. That actually takes away from the development potential, but that also allows our residents in need affordability to live here. So we're accomplishing it on both sides. If someone's telling you, my taxes have still gone up, show me that you have my information, show me the tax bill, I'll walk through each one with you. Because I've done this before, people, and the answer has been, oh, okay, I understand. Or I did construction, I renovated my kitchen.
Another way again. The senior citizens versus a person who just bought a house, for example. Now, what would you say to the senior citizen who comes to you and said, I'm paying $10,000 a year on taxes, $12,000 a year. What can you do to help me? As not just personally, but the senior citizen comes to you and say that to you. Now, the person who comes in now buys a house, she's paying $12,000, $13,000 a year, fine. The senior citizen who has lived here for 40 years or more. Now they're coming to my property taxes still $12,000. So what can you do to help that person?
Yeah, and there is, and I'm not eligible to speak, I can't speak, and I know, Tom, you had mentioned it recently online. There is a program about senior housing for seniors in need. There's a freeze, but that's not something I qualify to talk about. If you want to mention it, I know you know well. I don't know about the freeze as a program. Tom knows what I want.
I don't want to talk a lot about this because I can't give details. But for people over 65 with limited income, New Jersey has a program called the Senior Freeze. And for those who apply for it and qualify, essentially it freezes their property taxes at the level it's at when they apply, and they don't have to pay the increases as it goes on over years. It's something like 80 or 85,000. It varies from years. In Republican administrations, it goes down a little. In Democratic administrations, it goes up. But anybody who's really in poverty should not be facing any tax increases if they're seniors.
Can we get more information on that? Yes.
It should be online.
I will look at it. Thank you. We'll get that information out there. It's safe, right?
It should be posted in the assessors section on our website already.
Okay, I'll look at that also.
Yes, I want to go back to the taxes again. The municipal taxes will be a zero increase, but we're talking about taxes in total. So we're talking about the Board of Ed taxes. Now, if they're projecting, well, you won't have too many children, blah, 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 but suppose you do have children, and many are special ed that's costing a lot of money, that means the Board of Ed taxes are going to go up, which means our taxes will go up, and this man in the White House who put a cap at $10,000, so if you're paying $12,000, you're losing out. You know, so it's not a zero.
She's right about
overall.
that.
We're going to go.
Thank you for this informative presentation tonight. And I know that a lot of the property tax question is something that a lot of us feel a lot of pain about. I don't think that the development potential of this is something that we're going to find an answer to tonight. But I do want to share a story with all of you. I know there's many of my elders here in the room. I might be, some people mentioned millennials. I was born in the middle of the 1980s, so I guess I'm the millennial in the room here tonight. I want to share a story with you about my apartment building on Walraven Drive. My apartment building had 6 residents living in there. 3 of them were people my age. One of them was an older woman who was, I think, a widower or a divorcee, and one of them was an old man, Mr. Katz. He was about in his 70s or 80s. Now, I want to tell you about how life worked when we all lived together kind of as a community. Mr. Katz lived on the 3rd floor by choice. He wanted to basically be able to use stairs to keep moving, but he drove around. When there was ice and there was snow, myself and my other 2 friends who lived on the 2nd floor, we would go help him and clear the snow by his car. When my wife was pregnant, he would go to Glock Express Supermarket and buy her soup when I was at work, because I would sometimes come home and take the New Jersey Transit 167T bus home, which is a block away, and she'd be home uncomfortable, and whenever he would go to the store, he'd come bring her some stuff. And we functioned as a village where really we would help each other in ways that we couldn't necessarily help ourselves. I think that's important. And one thing that I see around the entire town is we have areas where we kind of segregate people into compartments. You know, all the young people live on those 2 blocks. So all the elderly people live in that community over there who they may not be able to care for themselves in a single family home, so they go to whether it's 5-star residence or Arbor Terrace or what have you. I think there are issues to work out with these sort of things, but to have more of what I encountered on Walraven Drive, I think would be a good thing. And I think I applaud the council for taking these hard steps to try to improve that and try to increase that. One thing that I do know is that I looked at some of the data. In my community, I paid $1,350 for rent when I started because my apartment did not include a parking spot. We had 1 car. We went to the Glock Express parking lot many times and had to wake up at 8 o'clock in the morning to move it. That's part of life. If I wanted a parking spot, I would have paid $400 more to live in Terrace Circle on State Street. And that's what many of my friends did. And that's to me, that was the market doing what it has to. My question is that in our one thing that we're fortunate enough to know is that the US Census designated that area where all those apartments are as its own census tract. So we have a lot of data. I filled out that census form. They came, they mailed one to my apartment. I wrote down that I had one car that my wife uses and I take the bus to work. So they have the data about me in the data. When you go to census.gov, I'm one of those 2,000 people. But my point is that 60% of the people have 2 or more cars. 40% have 1 or less, and 20% have 0. Why are we making more than 2 cars per apartment in an area that is already nearly a community that is car-free and or 1 car per household? You're encouraging people to drive. We already know that guaranteed parking means guaranteed driving or guaranteed. And people make choices based on this. People decide to get a second used car because they can have an easy place to park. With that said, you're going to have people who they'll go to the corner of the bus stop, get on that 167 bus, decide it's too tired, too aggravating, they can't get a seat, whatever. I saw on the flyer for this, New Jersey Transit might have a representative here. No. Those buses, they didn't show up because they're afraid to hear what we have to say, perhaps. But we know that bus line has 11,000 riders and not enough buses. We know that we have railroad tracks that are waiting to be reactivated with 14-car trains to Manhattan, but we're not there yet because CSX hates New Jersey. But that's a different problem. My point is that people make real decisions. Someone who's in their 30s with a small child or several children will go and they'll get aggravated with that bus and decide, I'm going to look for a job in Parsippany now and get a second car because I have a parking spot. Oh, well, it's no big deal now. Before it was, well, I had to find a parking spot, I can go to the municipal lot, I can go here, there, rent a garage. You're encouraging people to make real choices by providing too much parking. Please don't do it again.
I think 1 or 2 more questions and then wrap up tonight.
Good evening. I'm a resident and I'm sitting here a little bit frustrated as a resident. Prior to these developments going up, I have gone to planning boards, to zoning, and council meetings. I go there and I really went there for the development on Teaneck Road in the worlds of Wings. I don't have a problem, but it seems as though the town, all they're thinking about income. And when I go and I hear this, I told them the first thing, first of all, is safety. You're bringing all these, and some of these developments are going where there's children crossing from school, especially on Teaneck Road. So my thing is safety. And I mentioned that prior to these developments. I know they did these traffic studies. I heard that prior to that before. They gave them approval for this development. And I heard that, it's not going to be any impact on the police department, the education system, or the fire department. Now, all of a sudden, everything is approved, and now there's going to be an impact? I have a concern. Only thing I have to say as a resident, I hope they're getting enough income for whatever they can take for the cost. Because I don't want my taxes going up because of all these other development coming in here. Because if it is, I'm going to be protesting in the front of these developments. I'll be with
you. All right, what we're talking about is an average of, if I could add, somewhere like 600 apartments that are going to be opening within the next year or 2. Is that right?
700.
600?
More. 800.
800.
Plus some more buildings.
This used to be a suburban town. All right, that's what people moved in, the suburban town. Now, you're talking about the seniors, and I'm on the senior advisory board. And we are at the Richard Rhoda Center, which is right now falling apart. The idea is that we haven't taken care of the buildings that have been in this town a long time. And the Richard Rhoda Center is the most used building in this town. We have the little people in the morning, we have the teenagers in the afternoon, we have the seniors all day coming and going. And now we're talking about 800 to 900 seniors coming through per week. And this is insane that you're putting up this 800. Do we know who is coming into this town? I mean, the people that we know that have the houses that would like to stay in the town, as Jackie said. we don't know the rents of it. They can't even afford the rents that are going for these apartments. Okay, as far as affordable housing, affordable to who?
Right.
You know, that's the thing. We're not taking care of our people in this town of all ages. And people should know that. As far as the property freeze, I've had the property freeze for 5 years. And most people have no idea about it. Okay, that's one of the big things. Where did I learn about it? My accountant, who came from Nyack, told me about it. Okay, I have now told every senior at the senior center about it. As far as I know, they did raise it to about $80,000 income. And you could freeze your taxes at that amount. I mean, the information has not gotten out. Now you're talking about putting, what, 30 or 40 applications here? I mean, we should have 1,000 applications at the senior center, because we should be able to get into these places rather than all these outsiders. They close these affordable housing within 3 days, and then it's a 10-year wait. Check it out and see what's going on. Okay, that's it for me.
Thanks, Mickey. We'll get the application up to Rhoda Center, and you know that we're doing the roof repairs going on, windows, facade, new lighting.
5 years late.
More with Rhoda Center.
Okay, I'm the treasurer of the East Association, and when we first, wanted to have this community forum a year ago, it was because there was a lack of information available to the public. And some of us are very detail-oriented. We wanted to know, what were the numbers? What was the traffic? How many people? And we weren't getting any kind of answer. In fact, we were getting kind of snarky responses like, well, if you had shown up at the planning board meeting. And unfortunately, not many people can actually do that. So what I'm thinking, and what I'm seeing and hearing from all of these neighbors around me, is that yes, we're transitioning from a lower density community to a higher density community. We need to be more thoughtful in our planning process. We need to be more coordinated. We need to share the details with our neighbors, our taxpayers, our residents. And I'm hoping that that's what you're hearing from here tonight as we move forward with this.
Thank you. One more question?
Can I just add one thing?
Sure. All right, wait.
The one thing that we haven't included, I thought I had a big mouth. The one thing we didn't include, and I don't hear anyone speaking about, is the hospital. The reason I'm saying that is because when I was in Holy Name last month, the nurses and the doctors in the emergency rooms, if y'all haven't noticed when you go there now, it's just not the rooms. You have to, I felt like I was at Presbyterian, where they had to keep the patients on the outside because they kept saying they don't know what's going on. So I was wondering, are we having a lot more impact, a lot more people come in already? I don't know, but I know that's something to be considered, Jackie. You know, something to be considered.
Anymore, but I was saying it sounds like there was a lot more flu.
No, yeah.
Regional hospital.
No, they said it had been going on for at least 6 months when I asked the nurse what's going on here. So I just wanted to know, could y'all add that to your list?
Sure, I sure will. And please know that I got some great feedback from tonight. I know some of the questions may not have been answered, but rest assured, moving forward, I've taken down some notes. I plan to meet with the community moving forward, and hopefully sharing additional information so that you leave here satisfied. And that's my goal. So I will, moving forward, take these notes from tonight, and we'll plan something moving forward, and I'll get you the information that you asked for tonight. Yes?
I was just thinking that the one sticking point with everybody is the fact that there can't be preference for Teaneck residents.
Sure.
And we were talking about 60 Bergen Avenue, that was even complicated by the fact that Elizabeth Davis received HUD funding. So the facility is open United States with federal funding. but maybe there are so many people here who are concerned about it, we can begin organizing to write to our state legislators and our Congress people. I'm not, just to allow a portion of these units to have a preference for a municipality. I think maybe we should talk about that for
I
the
don't
League of
disagree, maybe
Municipalities.
this is a conversation that we have with Senator Weinberg.
Right, and maybe to the League of Municipalities, but they want to know that we have people in the community who agree with that, and I think that obviously we do, so. I think it's
I've got mine, thanks.
Yes, ma'am.
When you come back the next time we do this, these figures you have up here with the projected revenue,
Right.
we'd like to know where we stand to actually meeting those goals.
And, I have one last question. For people who couldn't make it tonight, how can we send you feedback?
I'd like to do something maybe latter end of spring, summer, in the fall. I'd like